what is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So this would be part 20 of Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, the beef Ravioli run, as far as what's supposed to happen. So last time we got caught up here within this particular area, and it's just a pitch as far as saying that there is progress in this episode. We do wind up tackling like the wind bird boss as far as those pitches going to happen within the fair behind it. But getting to this next particular area is kind of like a deep to D type moment when you think of Carlos Mencia, some of the folks if folks remember that particular show that he had back in the 2000s. But it's just kind of the pitch that, like I was saying in previous episodes, Zelda's pretty good. Like these ones for like the Super Nintendo and Game Boy, some of those type pitches kind of had the fair as far as tripping up folks just with that. It's just good product as far as trying to teach you to think laterally a little bit within those fairs, which is just kind of the product. It's good aspect. Some folks just have more affinity kind of for puzzle type video games, pitches like that with a little bit quicker ratio, but it's just a pitch as far as saying, consider my product. I think you know by the fair of when I particularly played through, I realize that this is kind of like, I don't as commonplace kind of advertise like the prospect of downing hella beers. I do, at least we'll probably talk occasionally about beers, pitches like that, but as far as like the concept of ganja wherever you're at, whether or not it's legal, some of those type fairs, it's just an extra type product that just having that smokish type fair within the extra aspects of it, but just kind of the pitch as far as saying, I just question how many smoke-bound type folks would probably appreciate the ratio of smoke into this particular game and being able to figure out the puzzles. It'd probably blow your high a little bit, I'd have to say, but I look at the tone. But yeah, just back to the ratio of this game, just real, good aspect here. The wind boss, I had a particular previous recording segment as far as what's going to happen. I was basically talking about the fact that the wind bird, you don't want to attack. I don't know if I said this when I fought him back in the wind tower back when I played through that area back in 2022, but you don't want to particularly fight that sort of boss when he's in defense mode, because he can particularly one-shot your characters, and it's just the aspect that you only get 2 chances within it, and he's just overall pretty strong still. He is the penultimate boss in the game, and the fact of it is the leftover remnants of this boss, he's still relatively tough. It's just the aspect as far as saying the fact that you can tackle the final boss in this game when you're at level 31, considering that I just question for folks who actually get to like level 60 or level 85, something like that. I assume it probably goes pretty much to level 99, obviously, but it's just the pitch as far as saying, it'd probably be within the ratio for folks who went to that ballistic nature of doing that probably you wouldn't be able to knock out like the boss, which is called the Dark King within those pitches. You'd probably be able to knock him out in just like 2 or 3 turns if you're willing to go to that extravagant extent of doing the grinding. But it's just the pitch as far as it. Some folks actually will do that. And that's the key to like games like Final Fantasy, is if you can do like the countless grinding pitches like that, for the most part these battles are probably not that significantly tough. Even when you think of some of the tougher type ones out of like Final Fantasy 7, like most people will complain about the fact, I realize on my channel just don't hold your breath, like I've said with the Final Fantasy 7 playthrough. At least this one's going to get done, but for the most part it's not very commonplace that I complete Final Fantasy games. It's trying to have the full bound patience, but obviously at the end of that Final Fantasy 7 playthrough, were it to ever be completed, you're going to have the Sephiroth fight, and then you just would have to say within those fairs as to how particularly tricky. I just question, even if you got to like the final level in that game, whether or not he would have still some difficulty within those fairs. I think even if you did, regardless, obviously by this stage, considering that it's been almost 30 years, I think most folks know that Ares dies within those pitches, but it's just the fair as far as saying, even if Ares gets to level 99, she's still going to die within the pitch. Just kind of the fair. But I look after it, just kind of the product as far as saying, but it would have been nice within some of those type ratios if they would have had alternate endings, kind of like Chrono Trigger did. You would think within the fairs, I realized with Final Fantasy 7 being a 3-disc PlayStation game, some of those type pitches that they are trying to compact a lot into it in the first place. Probably would have been pretty tricky to remember that across a 3-disc. I think if it had been on like a Super Nintendo game pack, something like that, they might have been able to pull it off. But I wonder how they would particularly do that. I think there's probably a way of designing it within the game design of the discs as far as what's going to happen. But as far as having, I think Final Fantasy 7 probably does have multiple endings, but I just question. I think that was one of the big things about most folks within those fairs, as far as just trying to stay wanting Aeris to not die within some of those fairs. You just look within the tones, it's kind of the product as far as that, but it was just a big component, just because you look after it, just the fact that, within that, it's just kind of the pitch that, yeah, a character dies within some of those fairs, just an aspect, was just kind of the tone. Just a good way of keeping things interesting, just the aspects behind. But I look after it, yeah, just being able to say within some of these type pitches, this particular game, this is like the tediousness about this particular game is really kind of awesome within a pitch, just because I look after it. It just has a fun kind of frustration that's kind of like games like Tomb Raider, and kind of like games like, I feel like Metal Gear Solid, the VR missions was kind of like this as well within some type of aspects. It's kind of the tone as far as saying that it just gets irritating, but it just is fun just because it's just the frustration level about this game is just so enormously high within those pitches. I mean, it's just such an obnoxious game, but I look after it. I mean, it's actually pretty basic. I mean, there's other type ones, just, obviously, I mean, I realized me having like the full bound patience, like I'd say pretty much like I've said before, I was kind of thinking almost within certain aspects. I don't know if I said this previously across some of these type fairs within these videos, but I thought about doing like Illusion a guy within those pitches, but I just think within the format it's just highly unlikely that probably within the solitude of it that I'd probably get that done within any real kind of distinct ratio of something that would be within that setting. I'd have to say it was just kind of the fair as far as like yeah, I just would have to say, I mean, the particular frustration about this game is pretty clever within the aspect behind it, but there's just not a super ton of games like it. So once you actually do complete this game, if you are looking for just like long-winded kind of pizza nights where you just have like a couple Little Caesars pizzas, something like that, going from 6 o'clock p.m. to like 4 o'clock in the morning, pitches like that, it's just kind of within the fair as far as saying, I mean, I would definitely recommend the Super Nintendo Zelda game within those pitches. That's a pretty nice one as well. There actually is like a game that's kind of Dungeons and Dragons, like I forget what it is, but there's tons of these games. One that kind of has the same sort of view like this particular one right here. I forget what it's called. I mean, I might put it in the connotation or something like that as far as this first gonna happen, because I did actually, the video used to be on Twitch and I luckily downloaded it. I don't know if it's still available nowadays, but it's some person that got deleted from YouTube, and particularly there were some games that he left over on his Twitch that just got abandoned, so it's just within the pitch as far as saying, but he particularly played he played some of those types of games. Now obviously the thing about it is I mean, a lot of these games, the style factor about some of these, if you're used to like more kind of sleek type games, Grand Theft Auto type fares within the pitch, that these are type ones where it was kind of within the aspect of this is just kind of a campy type game within the pitch. It just kind of has more camp type aspects within the ratio of it, the funny factor and things like that within the pitch. This is kind of the ratio as far as saying, but I look within the tone. There was something else I was trying to get to here within the tangent. I lost track of what I was going to say within these pitches, but this, me more or less being able to say, is just a good type fare within that. I look after it, it's particularly having the fair, but I don't know if I would play through that particular game within the aspect as far as those tones going to happen, but I looked after the fair what that game was called that I was talking about earlier. Basically, it's called Arcana or Arcana as far as this pitch going to happen. I'm going to put it in the connotation, but particularly, yeah, I feel like a game like that should basically be all over Twitch as far as this pitch going to happen. It just has the same type of appeal. This is a real easy kind of dozing off and getting cozy kind of game within some type pitch. It's just easy enough where you could probably find yourself eating like 6, 7, 8 slices of pizza, something like that, down in like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 beers, something within those type of ordeals, especially on like a lazy kind of bare bones kind of Saturday night, some of those type of ordeals. I kind of thought that's kind of one of the complaints about Twitch. If you've seen some of my blogs and some of the vlog channels I do, I've talked with Jackal Goldkick about this in past, one of my YouTube pals within some of those type of fairs. There's just not a ton of complaints. And that was back in 2021, 2022 within some of those type pitches. So it's just kind of the fair as far as saying, but yeah, just some extra type fair here. Arcana is pretty excellent game. Maybe I would do that. I'm not as full buncher, but yeah, subscribe for more fun. Yes. Subscribe for more fun. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful night.